What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Decoding with Cody, and today is July 22nd, 2025. And today we have a super interesting decode about the news from yesterday that happened on the day before yesterday about the drowning of Malcolm Jamal. What was his last name? Anyway, Derek's also here. I keep forgetting this guy's name, but Derek's also here with me. And
what's up, Cody, and all the fellow mystics? Malcolm Jamal Warner will be the topic of today's video.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his last name, but Malcolm Jamal Warner, the guy who played Theo in the Cosby Show. And yeah, like I said, glad to have Derek here. Make sure you give us a thumbs up if you can hear both of us, everyone. Thank you to all 46 that are already in here. Just want to get a sound check, make sure you can hear us both. Coffee Girl, hello. And hello to Bones Jones and Danique. Hello, Rizwan. Hello, Serious Business. Thank you for the thumbs up, Alex. So I guess the sound's working. And hello to Sarah and Eric. Hope everyone is well today. So yeah, we'll give it one more minute, and I'll kind of introduce, and then we'll get into the topic. But yeah, guys, I mean, I have kind of a shocker with this one because I had been doing a decode a few days before this news broke. And, you know, it's just crazy. You guys know how it works sometimes, how synced everything really is in this matrix. And yeah, I was just working on a decode on July 16th. I posted it on my Twitter, and then it kind of came true, or it kind of manifested in a weird way with this death. And so that's why this whole thing, you know, there's a lot of things I could talk about with this death. I could talk about the Jesuit order, the 201, how he died on the 201 day of the year, and the Cosby Show had 201 episodes. And it was on the moon landing date. We're going to get into that also. But, you know, I could talk about a lot of stuff, but the reason I wanted to focus on the currency is because that's what I was decoding a few days prior. And then this story broke, which kind of confirms it all. And so that's why the main topic of this video is going to be how this drowning, is going to be all about currency, and specifically Ripple, a cryptocurrency. We'll also talk a bit about Bitcoin as well, and just currency in general. Of course, this happened on the moon landing anniversary, and the moon is, well, money is named after moon, right? So, I mean, that's pretty obvious as well for most of you. And the moon also is connected to water. So we have currency, we have water, and we have money all connected. So with 85 in here, let's get started. So this is the post I made on July 16th on X, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I was talking about the 1992 movie Sneakers. And I've presented this on my channel before. If you guys have watched my channel for many years, you guys have seen this info already, but I had found some new information because, just to introduce all of this, the 1992 movie Sneakers, which came out on 9/11/1992, they hack into the this whole movie is about hackers, and they hack into the Federal Reserve, and there is a code on the Federal Reserve screen that says XRP 262. Well, many, many years later, a cryptocurrency would be created called XRP. And in Gematria, XRP cryptocurrency just happens to equate to 262, which is the number given on the Federal Reserve screen in this movie. So anyway, I posted this on the 16th, and I was looking more into the 262 because they gave us this number specifically, I believe, for a reason. They gave us the 262 right next to XRP. So I started looking more into that. And the other event we're going to cover here, which is what's going to tie all this in together, is the song Ripple, because Ripple is the company that created the currency XRP. There's a song called Ripple by the Grateful Dead. And if you go from the album release of that to the movie that has the 262 in it with XRP, it's 262 months and 9 days. The 9 is like a 6 flipped upside down. but you're going to see a pattern here. So again, this was 3 days ago, guys. And then I posted this timeline. And I showed that the Grateful Dead originally debuted their Ripple song in San Francisco on 8/18/1970. And I showed how from that day to the Ripple video, this esoteric tarot card video with lots of symbolism in it, it was 2626 weeks and 2 days. And then from that video to the very big ruling on the cryptocurrency XRP Ripple, it was 2 years, 6 months, and 26 days. And it just happens to be the same span if you measure from the case ruling on Ripple to the next Super Bowl in San Francisco. So you guys are going to notice a couple themes here. You guys are going to notice the Ripple and the San Francisco theme. And it's all connected to San Francisco. But you can see even the CEO of Ripple is born on 2/6, and 2 days before the Super Bowl this year, which will be 2/6/226, which again is all 2s and 6s, he will be 20,262 days old. So all this stuff points us back to this movie, Sneakers, where you get that XRP 262. But what really I want to point out, guys, that just blew my mind is I did this whole slide on the 16th. And then 4 days later, or actually 5 days later, the news broke of the death of, let me find his page here. Hold on a second. Let's see. So the death of Warner, right? I don't know why I keep forgetting this guy's name. Malcolm Jamal Warner. Okay. His death breaks 5 days after I post this. And the first date on this timeline is 8/18/1970. And imagine my surprise when 5 days after I post this timeline, the guy who dies just so happens to be born on the same exact day as the first date on my timeline, 8/18/1970, the very first day that the Ripple song released. Again, if you go to his thing, here's his birthday, 8/18/1970. So I was like, are you kidding me? Like I posted that and then this happens, and that's how we got into this. So I kind of just want to set the stage of how this is all connected to currency anyway, because the first episode, okay, the first episode of the Cosby Show is literally called Theo's Economic Lesson. So you have this economic monetary thing, this theme. And in this episode, Bill Cosby teaches his son an economic lesson with Monopoly money. And if you guys can watch the scene on YouTube if you want. But yeah, it's Theo's Economic Lesson. Well, Theo is the guy played by the guy who just died. And Theo, he gets taught an economic lesson in his first episode. He's connected to The Economist magazine, who in January 9th, 1988, predicted to get ready for a world currency. Well, Theo, who gets an economic lesson from Bill Cosby, he drowns in a high current. And look at his name in the show. This is his full name in the show. Theodore Aloysius Huxtable. Sorry. That just happens to equal the headline on the magazine. And not to mention, the first episode where he gets taught his economic lesson to the day of his drowning is 40 years and 304 days, which matches the name on the title of the magazine, his name in the show, and he drowned. Drowning equals 40. It was 40 years, 304 days. How much more perfect can you get? This is from the episode where he gets an economic lesson, and you have the Economist magazine perfectly scripted in with this. And just he gets caught in a current, guys. So, I mean, I don't think I need to explain too much. But then, of course, we go back to this thing. Like I said, his birthday is the day of the Ripple release of their video. And this is what blew my mind, guys. So I told you his birthday is the same day of this timeline I made days before. And I was all about the 262 in this timeline, okay? And then it just happens to be that the news of his death on July 21st, it was in the news. It just so happens to be that it was 20,062 days after he was born and after the Ripple song debuted on the same day he was born. And again, this is the same date I started with days ago and the same number I talked about. Okay. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, this has to be the theme of my decode here, because obviously I was onto something. But it gets even better because this 262 number is going to cover a lot of ground in this decode as we go through. But this is just happens to be how old he was. And considering that XRP is the theme of this decode, because again, he's born on the Ripple song, and then we have Ripple XRP, the currency. And don't forget, on this timeline I made, this third date is when XRP was ruled to be not a security, and it was called a currency. So this date right here, 7/13/2023, was the date also in this decode. But what I found interesting was his whole theme is with the X, like XRP. His last name in the show is Huxtable, which has the X right in the center of it. In the show, he has this dyslexia, which has the X right in it. And there's not many words that have X's in it, first of all. That's why I'm pointing this out. He died, they say he died of asphyxia from drowning. If you read the article, right here, it says his cause of death was asphyxia by submersion due to drowning. So that has the X in it. And he was named Malcolm after Malcolm X, okay? And the X stands for cross-border. In currency words, it stands for cross-borders, as in a currency that has no borders. It can be moved across the world with no borders. In other words, a world currency. And so me and Derek, we have both had this in our decode. I'm getting ready to pass it over to Derek for in a minute. But I was looking at this day, guys, not only for, I was looking at this day, July 20th, because of water and XRP. Because look how old the United States turned on the day that this guy died. Exactly 1034 Mercury years old. That just happens to be the gematria of Ripple XRP, 1034. And notice in ordinal, it also has the 134, which is the same digits. And Mercury is very connected with Ripple because Ripple equals Mercury. And I've already documented many times where Ripple uses... Is someone saying Ozzy Osbourne died? Okay, I hope this is true. I don't want to stop in my... Is this a true statement? I just
Wikipedia has just been updated. July 22nd, they say Ozzy died.
Oh my gosh.
This would happen during one of our longer decodes, wouldn't it?
He dies at 76, like Ripple equals 76, first of all. Oh.
Yeah, he's got the 119, the 106, the 322. This is going to be loaded. You know it.
Okay, guys. Can we... Derek, I just want to get through this decode and...
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, guys, we're going to cover... Maybe we'll do some on the stream kind of looking into this, but let's get through this death first. And then we'll... guys, I just talked about Ozzy, too, because he did his farewell tour when the WWE was also... I just talked about this. It's just crazy. I figured he might be going soon, but I wasn't expecting this soon. Anyway, so let's keep going. I'm almost done with my first part here. Ozzy Osbourne does equal 201, yeah. So 1034 Mercury years after the United States was founded, this guy dies. Ripple XRP 1034. So the water, cryptocurrency, I was also looking at this date for a water event because it was 1086 prime days after 9/11, and 1086 is a water number. Ripple equals 1086 in squares. Federal Reserve, which I'm going to connect a lot here, equals 1086, and water equals 1086. Of course, he died in water. And the creator of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Satoshi Nakamoto, 1086. So how perfect. Not only did he die 1034 Mercury is exactly after the United States, he died perfectly for a water event after 9/11. And this is where I'm going to hand it over to Derek to talk more about the depth of the 9/11 code that's in this. So let me share Derek's screen here.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the synchronicity that Cody found with XRP and this date, August 18th, 1970. And it was alarming enough to me that I felt like I had to pitch in and just kind of confirm what you're pointing out, that there's a strong connection here. And you just mentioned this 1086 number found in Ripple and water. And lo and behold, his name, Jamal Warner, also equals 1086. Malcolm Jamal Warner is 1806. And again, the 186th prime number is 1109. And you get the 186th prime number when measuring from 1109 to this guy's death. So ultra powerful. And when you think of this number 186 and 9/11, just think about the two airplanes that hit the two towers. Flight 11, Flight 175. Add those flight numbers, they sum to 186. Also, July 4th, the United States founded on the 186th day of a leap year. Now, you mentioned the 262 as a focus of your part, Cody. XRP cryptocurrency, 262 ordinal. We saw these digits in his age for the news. Well, his death was on the date of the moon landing. And these are strong topics of my personal channel, Gematron 85, the moon landing, the September 11th attacks. It's truly fascinating how many events are connected to these huge rituals. And when you measure from the moon landing to the death of Jerry Garcia, the lead singer of the Grateful Dead, who performed Ripple for the first time on the same day that Jamal Warner was born. He died 26 years and 20 days after the moon landing. I even found a 4-digit match with XRP cryptocurrency, which in standard English gematria is 3124. And this matches the age of Malcolm Jamal Warner on the date of the 9/11 attacks. He was 31 years and 24 days old, matching XRP cryptocurrency.
And I will add here why you're in that, because I think it's important to mention in the Ripple case, which has been still going on. It's at the very end stages. Everything's already pretty much decided, just the like little legal stuff. But the judge, who's still last to make the ruling, she's from New York. Her last name is Torres, and if you look up the meaning of Torres, it means towers. And the attorney who has been defending Ripple the whole case is Solomon, which again goes back to this Solomon's Temple. And Derek, but the 185, all the 185s with the World Trade Center and the Solomon's Temple, and I'll let you just take it away there. I see you have it.
For sure, yeah. And, the fact that this all happened on July 20th, the moon landing anniversary, is fascinating to me because last year, you may recall that the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson boxing match was scheduled for July 20th in Dallas, Texas. So I did this video explaining how this match was connected to the moon landing, Neil Armstrong. And you'll also see Bill Cosby in the thumbnail. And the reason I ended up figuring out Bill Cosby was connected to this was because when Cosby was let out of prison in 2021, it was on Mike Tyson's 55th birthday, June 30th. And this fight was originally scheduled for the 55th anniversary of the moon landing. Of course, it then got delayed until November. Remember, we got shown Mike Tyson's butt in a full moon riddle, just cementing what we've been saying about this.
And that's funny because, as I showed you, Derek, I have a video on my channel from 8 months ago where I made a video with XRP and Mike Tyson's full moon. And I have XRP in Houston, 1, 2, 3 liftoff. And funny enough, you know where WWE was last night after all this went down? In Houston. So
nice. That's perfect. So where they took off for the moon, essentially, or headquartered the mission anyway.
Yep.
So the whole time, Bill Cosby has been super synced to the 9/11 code. And when you look back at the Cosby Show, which, by the way, was the highest rated sitcom for 5 straight years, which is virtually unprecedented in television history. This show ran for 91 months and 10 days, which has the 911 code. Malcolm Jamal Warner played Theo Huxtable. You combine their names, you get a 119. The name Jamal Warner is an upside down 911. So is the name Warner 1106, which matches the Twin Towers in reverse. His initials MJW, that's a perfect super match with the same initials for the World Trade Center, WTC. And then you see the fact that his name, Malcolm Jamal Warner, with a simple ordinal value of 185, matching World Trade Center, Solomon's Temple. However, in reduction, Malcolm Jamal Warner equals 68. And this video about the Paul Tyson match that I made is a lot about water as well. That's kind of why I put the moon over water in this video. Well, 68 is also the reverse value of water. Now, 68 is a number connected to the World Trade Center, where construction first began on the 6th of August, or 6/8 of the year 68. The 68th prime number is 337. Malcolm passed away 337 days after his birthday. And these digits are found in World Trade Center, New York City, even William Henry Cosby, Bill Cosby's full name, has the 337 in it, all in standard English gematria. When Jamal Warner was born, Bill Cosby was even 33 years and 37 days old. And now we're being told that MJW died in the nation of Costa Rica. Costa Rica, 337 in Latin. And what really brings this together as well is the fact that the word pi equals 337. Kind of an aside here, but in the movie Pi, which came out in 1998, the actor of that film, he was born in the year 68. And that movie was released when he was a span of 30 years and 37 days old. And again, 337, the 68th prime number. So the word pi equals 337. And remember, on the same date as the 9/11 attacks, the book Life of Pi was first published. And we know there's a pi riddle in this death because 3.14, the first 3 digits of pi, sums to 888, which is cool because that's 6 circles. And 6 circles matches pi in that same cipher. Well, Bill Cosby was 88 years and 8 days old for MJW's death. And the date he died was also a span of exactly 888 months after the death of Robin Williams. And I mentioned Robin Williams, well, for a couple of reasons. First of all, this also means that yesterday was his 74th birthday. And the number 74 points to the meridian that the World Trade Center sits alongside, right there in Manhattan, the 74th meridian splitting New York City. And of course, New York equals 373 in prime numbers, and that's the 74th prime number. Now, the Robin Williams connection may seem a little bit random, but also understand that last year, in July, the same month that boxing match was scheduled for, we had the death of actress Shelley Duvall, who starred alongside Robin Williams in the movie Jack. Or actually, I'm sorry, she wasn't in this movie. She was in Popeye with Robin Williams. But these two actors died exactly 119 months apart, which is also 9 years and 11 months. And this is amazing because Robin Williams connects to both of these numbers. His ordinal gematria is 156, which is both the 119th composite and has the prime number connection to 9/11. So for the last year, we've been seeing these nuggets of numerology connected to Robin Williams. And exactly 888 months after he was born, we learn of this death. And of course, the name Robin Williams matches both September 11th and the tower in multiple methods. Well, measure from Robin's death to Malcolm's, and you get 10 years, 11 months, and 9 days. Essentially the same exact 5 digits in the date of the 9/11 attacks. 9/11/01. It's like the same date backwards. So Robin Williams, he's just one of several characters that are strongly numerically connected to this. And I guess what I'll leave with, Cody, and then throw it back to you if you're all right with that, is this connection with the Twin Towers once again and MJW and Jerry Garcia. So Malcolm died exactly 490 months after the first episode of The Cosby Show, which was focused on him. And that matches Twin Towers, 49. And he also died 30,304 days after Jerry Garcia. And you led off with the 304. His death also 40 years, 303 days after The Cosby Show premiered. And that matches Grateful Dead. Jerry Garcia, singer of the Grateful Dead, 433. And the 433 is also found in September the 11th, 1433. This guy was 14 years and 33 days old for the debut of The Cosby Show. And then you measure from his death to the opening of the World Trade Center, and you get 19,101 days. Again, the same 5 digits we just discussed. Also, Jerry Garcia would currently be 1,109 lunar orbits old. So yet another 119. Grateful Dead sums to the 119th prime number, as well as this 156. So there's a couple more things here, but some of this is connected to Mercury and the number 26 and 62, which I know you have more on. So I'll wrap up my section right there.
Okay, yeah, we'll get back to the Mercury stuff. We'll talk a bit about Mercury, and I mean, I talked a bit about it, but I think that's still actually all the planet. We're going to talk about Venus here too.
Absolutely.
And I think Bobby, Casey Jones Astrology, he has I don't know if I saw him in the chat. He might have some stuff to type in the chat about Saturn. But just to reiterate, what we talked about before we went on the 9/11 connection was the connection to 9/11 being connected to water, 1086 prime days after 9/11, which which is water in gematria. This guy drowns in water, and he gets caught in the current. Well, the Federal Reserve. So this is why it's important, guys. I started out talking about how the movie Sneakers. I did a whole decode on the movie Sneakers and the Ripple song, and I talked about how it was connected to the 262 because in the movie Sneakers, they go to the Federal Reserve and they hack into it and they see XRP 262. Well, it just so happens, again, he dies 1086 prime days after 9/11 when Federal Reserve and Ripple and water all equal 1086, including the founder of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. And as Derek pointed out, even the guy's name, is it Malcolm Warner or Jamal Warner?
Both Malcolm Jamal Warner and Jamal Warner have the 186 in reverse Sumerian.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that number is huge. And that number actually ties back last year. We had found a huge connection with Trump's shooting. And the shooter, he was 1086 weeks old or something like that. And the whole verse of Revelation 13:3 sums to 1086. And that was about the beast getting his head wound. And the Federal Reserve. And so this all ties back to last July. And you'll notice the shooting last July happened on 7/13. Well, that's also the date the Ripple case was declared a currency. So you see the number 7/13 in this number. I think that's another tie back into last year, 7/13, when Trump got his ear wound.
Yeah, but just to add to that, Cody, Donald Trump equals 589. He was 55 years, 89 days old for the 9/11 attacks. And this Ripple song, as well as MJW, came out during Lunation 589. So absolutely more to that.
Yep, I have a couple slides on the 5. I couldn't leave out the 589 when talking about XRP. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good reminder. I'm going to talk about. Well, actually, I think I have some slides on that. But so this is what was interesting to me too. You guys know that he died at 54, and again, now we're getting to the more, front connections. They give you the number 54 in the articles, of course. And that's how old he was. And most of everyone's already seen this, but the Cosby Show equals 54 in 2 ciphers, forward and backwards. But in the Francis Bacon simple cipher, which I've used a lot, and Rambo over at the Truth Codes, shout out to him. He's really brought this cipher to my attention. And it just so happens that XRP equals 54 in that cipher to go with the age of his death. And as again, he died on the Ripple song release. I've already connected in many decodes how the Grateful Dead Ripple song is connected to Ripple, the company who created XRP. In fact, Ripple, the company, has even mentioned it in interviews, how they were inspired by the song from the Grateful Dead. So it's not just an out of nowhere connection. It's clearly right there in front of us. But this is where it gets interesting with Venus, because there's a whole love connection here with Venus. And shout out to my buddy AJ Ball Don't Lie, who's always talking about the love connections. And look at how many days, Venus years, after his last episode of Cosby, he died. Exactly 54 Venusian years. And that's important because in gematria, Venus equals 54, and love equals, which Venus is the god of love, equals 54 in 2 ciphers. He also died on a Sunday, and the word sun equals 54. And again, XRP 54. But not only did he die 54 exactly Venus years after the last episode, he died another Venus count after the release of this magazine, which I started talking about, just to reiterate for people who are behind. This magazine, which I already showed how he was clearly connected to, he just happened to also die exactly a Venusian count after the magazine. 1/9/1988. He died exactly 61 Venusian years later. So he was on a Venus count in 2 different ways.
And real quick, Cody, just to interject, his name equals the 54th prime number, 251 in capitals. And that matches ritual sacrifice as well. So kind of interesting.
Right. Yeah. That's something I didn't put in the slide, but that's a point that must be added, I think, for the ritual sacrifice part. But then I started looking into his shows, and one of the main episodes. First of all, as I told you guys, this character was the front and back. He was the beginning and end of the show. If you look into the first episode of the show, let me just go to the episodes so you guys can see in real time. So the first episode, again, is called Theo's Economic Lesson. So this is all about Theo. And his dad gives him a Monopoly money lesson. And the last episode, so we go from the beginning to the end. The last episode is also titled, And So We Commence. And I'm going to get into that in a minute, but it's about Theo's graduation. So he's going from his lesson to his graduation, guys. It's almost like they're telling us the whole series is the graduation of the beginning episode, because in the last episode, they even go back and they flash back. It says right here, they flash back to 8 years to the day when he used Monopoly money to illustrate the harsh realities of life to a 13-year-old Theo. And notice the theme of this last episode of the series. It's the 201st episode. He died on the 201st day of the year, the moon landing date. The big Jesuit order number. The Jesuits were bankers, talking about banks and currencies. But the series finale is about the graduation and a scarcity of tickets. So a scarcity of tickets, and I've connected XRP with the golden ticket a lot of times. So that's interesting that this is talking about tickets. But what really got me, what I'm going to talk about later, is that this episode is connected to the city Singapore. So wait till you see how this connects to Singapore. But what I want to really point out here is that the last episode, they talk about Singapore, and then they mention that Vanessa is providing mixed signals to everyone about their current relationship. They had to put the word current in this last episode. Of course, this guy died being taken away in a current, and we're talking about currencies. So anyway, I just want to give an overview of the importance of this character to the whole show. If Bill Cosby is the main character, this guy is certainly the second most important. But definitely important in the overall scheme. So I found this episode, which is one of the important episodes where it talks about him, because this is where we find out that he has dyslexia. And it just so happens that this episode was called Theo's Gift. And what are the chances that Theo's gift, out of all the stuff I've already showed you guys, how he's connected to Ripple, it just so happens that Theo's gift is a almost perfect match to XRP Ledger. That's the ledger that XRP runs off. And if you reverse that, the name of the cryptocurrency, Ripple XRP, also equals 134 and 109 and 46, like Theo's gift. So it's really just perfect for both these things to be, because in case you guys don't know, XRP Ledger is the ledger that they operate on, and the cryptocurrency is Ripple XRP. But to go back to the 262s, remember in the movie Sneakers, they show XRP 262. And from Theo's gift, the episode I just mentioned equals Ripple XRP, to the creation of XRP on 6/2/2012 was 8,262 days. I mean, come on, another 262, guys. And this last episode was called And So We Commence. And so we commence is like starting something, right? Well, this gematria of this episode, which I just connected with the 262, or not that episode, but the last episode, I connected. It's called And So We Commence, which equals 62, like Ripple XRP. And the guy who created Ripple XRP was Arthur Brito, which equals 62. And this happened on 6/2. Okay, so they commenced the XRP ledger on 6/2, and this points us right back to the last episode of the series. And just so everyone knows, we're gonna talk about Ozzy Osbourne a bit at the end after we get through this. Hopefully, you guys can stay focused on the crazy connections of this last story before we have to move on to a whole nother rabbit hole. Sometimes I wish they would give us a bit of breaks with this stuff, but
no kidding, right?
But remember, we talked about the 134. He died 1034 Mercury years after the United States was founded. So what are the chances, guys, that the post I posted just days before he died about sneakers being tied to this last episode of Bill Cosby happened to air the same year sneakers came out. And it just happened to come out 134 days before sneakers, the last episode. And Ripple XRP 134, XRP Ledger 134, the episode about Theo being dyslexic equals 134, and Trump, Make America Great Again, 134. So it all ties back to Trump. We haven't even mentioned Trump really, but of course it ties back to Trump. But not only that, thanks to Derek for this one. From the last episode to the day he died was also 12,134 days. So again, from the last episode to the sneakers movie, 134 days. And from the last episode to the day he died, 12,134. And this is where it gets pretty clear that there's something interesting going on here, because Ripple, the company, again, just to reiterate, the guy was born on the same day the Ripple song was premiered in San Francisco. Ripple this is a news article from just a few days ago, guys. Singapore, the region's huge potential as a lucrative market for fintech services, is prompting major players to expand their presence. Ripple is one firm that recognizes this potential. The new workspace, which is owned by Ripple at IOI Central Boulevard Towers. Remember, I told you the judge in the Ripple case is Torres, which means towers, can accommodate 110 employees. And how many stories was the World Trade Center towers, guys? 110. And yeah, so it talks about how they're hiring staff for the Ripple X, a business unit within Ripple. And look at, again, this is Singapore, guys. This article came out just days before he died. The last episode of this show mentions his sister, Denise, calling him from Singapore. And they're expecting a baby with her husband, Martin. And it just so happens that the main character of the sneakers movie is also Martin. So we'll get into that in a minute. But look at this, guys. We connected this to the Grateful Dead, who had the song Ripple. We connected this to the Drowning, and now we connected this to Singapore. Well, Drowning, Grateful Dead, and Singapore all equal 104. Well, 104 just happens to be the 76th composite, and 76 is the gematria of Ripple in the same cipher. And now we have Ozzy Osbourne dying at 76, like Skull and Bones, like Donald John Trump, like you guys, we're going to get into the 76, I think, but 76 is a huge number. Remember, Leave the World Behind had all that 76 stuff. But yeah, also, considering the last episode of this show has Singapore in it, Drowning equals Singapore equals Grateful Dead in two ciphers. And again, he was born the same day they debuted this song. The Grateful Dead debuted this song. And now I'm almost done. But considering that in the show Sneakers, they go to the Federal Reserve, and just today the Federal Reserve had a meeting. Oh, really? Okay. Well, look at Joseph in the chat. Let me just bring this up real fast.
I was going to mention that I'm already picking up on some wild numbers with Ozzy too.
Ozzy dead 134 days from his birthday, guys. What's been one of our main numbers in this decode? He's dead at 76, 134 days from his birthday. So these are two numbers I was just covering, both connected to XRP and Ripple. And I really want to mention what this is also really about with the 134, Make America Great Again 134, but plutocracy 134. This is all about society of the rich, plutocracy, okay? Also, the Jesuit order, the bankers, the Jesuits equals 134. So this connects back to that as well. So yeah, we're going to talk more about Ozzy. Anyone who's in the stream right now, I think we got a huge influx of people expecting us to talk about Ozzy, Derek.
Yeah, well, I got a couple things on Ozzy that I think are pretty interesting already. If you want to, whenever you're ready for.
Yeah, I just want to finish this now because I almost just want to get to this Ozzy thing now. But but I want to make sure I give this because this is still mind-blowing stuff, guys. So hopefully we can get through this. But so anyway, I talked about the 262 this whole time with XRP, the Federal Reserve site. It says XRP 262, XRP cryptocurrency 262. What are the absolute odds that from the founding of the Federal Reserve to the day of the release of this movie, the limited release on 9/9/1992, was exactly 78 years, 262 days? Guys, this is where they give you the 262 on the Federal Reserve's page, okay? From the Federal Reserve's founding to the movie, 262 again. And the guy who just spoke today, and the guy that Trump has been trying to fire him. This is why this is all connected, because this is the Federal Reserve chair right now. His name is Jerome. The lead writer for The Grateful Dead was Jerome Garcia. And I told you this guy he was born on the Ripple release, and Jerry Garcia wrote that. Well, this guy, the lead of the head of Federal Reserve, Trump's been trying to fire him the last week. He's been talking about how he wants to fire the Fed chair, Jerome Powell. Well, the full name of Jerome Hayden Powell sums to 206. And just so happens that this connects us back to the 262, because 262 is the 206 composite number. Again, the Federal Reserve was founded 78 years, 262 days before sneakers, which again, can't reiterate enough, but that's where you get this. And I just threw this in here because this is literally a post from today. Chair Powell delivers opening remarks at Integrated Review of Capital Framework for Large Banks. Okay. Remember, on July 14th, the banks just went to ISO 2022, the new messaging system for banks. And the guy in sneakers is Robert Redford. This connects to Trump on the same day as this guy died, talking about how he wants to bring the Redskins back. I don't even want to get into all that, but this is definitely connected to the Redskins stuff and the blood moon. That's a whole nother topic, I think. But anyway, what is the chance that the guy from sneakers was born exactly 329 days before Cosby? And so they're both 88 right now. Remember, 88 miles per hour, guys. This all ties back into Back to the Future as well. But 262 just happens to be, or 329 is the 262 composite. Did you have something you wanted to say, Derek?
I just saw Robert Redford's birthday is the same as Malcolm Jamal Warner's.
Yeah, I can't believe I missed. Yeah, because that was the whole reason I did this decode days before. This timeline I did 4 days before was because I had discovered. Where's that timeline now, man? That timeline I discovered was because I had also discovered that Robert Redford's birthday was also the birthday of the Ripple song and the birthday of Malcolm. So 34 years difference. So again, what's the chances that these two guys are born 329 apart, which is the 262 composite? Again, the 262 guys, over and over and over. Which again takes us back to this. But this is my ending. This is where we really bring it all together. And oh my God, I got 262 in the chat. I got 262 in the chat. Is everyone else seeing that, or is it just showing that for me?
That's what I see too.
Okay. Yep. You see that? You see how they play with us, guys? I swear, this happens to me almost every time.
Oh, yeah.
It's staying there too. Let's see how long it stays there.
It just went up to 263. So you got to kick someone out, I guess.
Yeah, someone needs to leave, I guess. Anyway, this is where we bring this all together, guys. Robert Redford just happens to be featured on the back of Trump's book called Crippled America. I'll let that sink in for a second. Ripple XRP, the guy that just died, was born on the debut of Ripple in San Francisco. The next Super Bowl is in San Francisco. I haven't even talked about how this all points to next year's Super Bowl in San Francisco, the end of the line, right? But what are the chances? First of all, Robert Redford, according to them, is not even a supporter of Trump. But for some reason, Donald Trump put his quote on the back of his book. The first quote on his book is from Robert Redford. And the front of that book is titled Crippled. And the middle word inside of this is Ripple, guys. And what's interesting about Ripple being sandwiched in between the 3 and the 4 letter is I told you that this guy was born 34 years. The guy in sneakers, he was born, Robert Redford, he was born 34 years before the guy that just died. So you got the C and the D, which is the 3 and the 4, and the ripple is sandwiched in between. I also talked about the 304 to start the decode. So that's interesting. And another thing I need to point out, guys, ripple flipped upside down is riddle. Okay? Ripple, you flip the P's upside down, you get riddle. And so this is interesting. From the creation of XRP to the Trump's book, Crippled America, 1250 days. The founder of XRP, the creator who created on that day, is Arthur Brito, 1250. And this is where it brings it. This is what proved to me that this is all about the 262. If you go from the book, Crippled America, with Robert Redford on the back, again, the guy from the movie with the XRP 262, and you go from Trump's book to the all-time high of XRP, which stood for 7 years and still stands today. If you go on one website, technically it broke all-time high on most sites, but on one website, the most important one, CoinMarketCap, the all-time high still stands as January 4th, 2018 for XRP. And guys, look at this. From his book, Ripple America, to the all-time high for XRP, 2 years and 62 days. If you add the day, you also get 26 months and 2 days. So you get a double, whether you don't add the day or you add the day, you literally get the 262. This brings us all the way back to that show where this all started. Okay, this all started with me looking at this. Okay. And yeah, the San Francisco thing, this is the last thing I have. The San Francisco thing. This all ties to San Francisco. Why? Because in the movie Sneakers with the 262, it's all takes place in San Francisco. With Martin, right? Remember the last episode has Martin mentioned in the Cosby Show. And San Francisco is where Ripple, the company, is based. And the Ripple, the song, was first performed on the day that Malcolm was born in San Francisco. And in the movie, or in the show, Malcolm is offered a job in San Francisco, but turns it down. That's part of the plot of the show. So it all connects to San Francisco. And who is the quarterback for the San Francisco? Oh, a comment's blocking the screen. Hold on. I hope everyone's been able to see this the whole time. I hate when I do that. Hold on. This is my last slide. But I think it tells us why the 262 pick, who is the star quarterback for the football team from San Francisco, just happens to be the 262nd pick. And if you go from Mr. Robert Redford, who's in the movie about the 262 in San Francisco, to the birth of this guy, who's the 262 pick, Brock Purdy, just happens to be 23,141 days. Well, 26,002 just happens to be that composite number. So, and again, this is the 262nd pick of the draft. He goes to San Francisco. I mean, come on. So watch out for the 49ers this year and this guy, because I know he's going to be connected to all this. So anyway, my whole thing was about the 262s, but I know Derek's got some other stuff to share here. Let's get to Derek, and then we'll start trying to look into this Ozzy thing after that.
Sure. I mean, I have a little bit more on MJW. And then I figure we can probably jump into Ozzy, at least start decoding that. I think I shared most of what I had on this guy. I guess in relation to Mercury, you had shown this, the fact that he died exactly 1,034 mercurial years after the United States to go along with Ripple XRP. His initials, as well as Cosby, both also with a 134. And you know, the show ended 134 days before September 11th as well.
Which was the release of that movie. That movie.
Exactly.
So that's how crazy this all is. That just happens to be the movie release of Sneakers.
Yeah, that's excellent. But there's a stronger Mercury connection with the magic square, because every row and column of this magic square for Mercury add up to 260. And you realize He was 260 months old when the Cosby Show ended. He died at 20,060 days of age. Cosby has the 26. His name added to his character is 2600. He dies 260 days after XRP's stable release in November of last year. And these are digits connected to the Grateful Dead, the Twin Towers,
Wait.
also the sacrifice code.
He died what? After XRP's stable release. What was that again?
Yeah, so back in November, this is just something I picked up off of Wikipedia. On November 2nd, they released 2.3, which was the stable release. So this is, in software terms, I guess this is essentially the final version.
Mm-hmm.
And he did die 260 days after that date.
So, oh my! So what date was that release? Oh, November 2nd, huh?
Yeah, November 2nd, just this past year.
Okay. Wow.
But remember, these also reflect the original date of launch, the 6th of June, or I'm sorry, the 2nd of June, 2/6 or 6/2. And these are sacrifice numbers. The Cosby Show premiered 6,200 days before 9/11. He died 62 days before the anniversary of that pilot.
I mean, I'm just thinking about this, and that technically means that his death was in the news 262-day span after that stable release too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't think of that one, but
because guys, he died at 20,062 days old, right? And then his death's in the news 262 days after the stable release of XR. I mean, come on now, this is just getting ridiculous.
Agreed. So
it's just crazy because I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand how crazy that was. I was not even planning on releasing this date code about XRP and 262 unless I found more, and then the Matrix just kind of gave it to me, I guess. So, but yeah, let's talk about Ozzy. I know a lot of you guys are now here to see what we can find out. So this is going to be live, guys. We haven't really looked into this, but I'm sure Derek has some stuff. So go ahead, Derek.
I just have a few notes, and I'm always skeptical when it comes to the Jesuit code. However, in this case, I do think it's absolutely connected to that. And consider that the Jesuit order has standard gematria of 1086. And this was a huge number of focus in the decode we just completed, as it was the 1086th prime number of days since the 9/11 attacks. Well, the Jesuit order also has 201 in reverse, like Ozzy Osbourne in ordinal, 201. But also look at the Latin value for Ozzy Osbourne. This is a really interesting number, 1967. When you write out the number 32, it sums to 1967. And that's the number of rays on the Jesuit sun. 32 rays surrounding it. So look at these date measurements, though. To me, this slams home that there's a connection. First of all, today, 177,077 days after the Jesuit founding.
Also, the 1776 in there.
Sure, and he dies at 76, right? But this 177 is the Jesuit order.
Yeah.
So you get the 177 ordinal and reverse, but there's more. Look at Ozzy's age today when he died. 27,990. Well, look at his full name, John Michael Osbourne. 27 in ordinal, and then 9990 in reduction. But also, if you add Ozzy, his nickname, to this name, well, now you get a slew of interesting numbers, but let's start with ordinal 299. Very similar to his age at death, 2799. But look at this. Including the end date, he died 299 days after the Jesuit anniversary. And when he was born, it was 299 days before the Jesuit anniversary. This means it's also 68 days the other way. And 68, a big water number. We just talked about 68 and Malcolm Jamal Warner, who has the 68. Also, today is the 22nd of July, or 22-7, matching the Society of Jesus in Latin.
You know what I'm thinking? I was just thinking this. Today is 22 divided by 7 pi, right? 3.14 equivalent.
Yep.
Well, Ozzy Osbourne, think about his name. It's 2 circles. O. So I think the
they
pi
do this a
riddle
lot
is,
with O's.
yeah. I think the pi riddle and the circle riddle here is super heavy here.
Yeah, and that's good because, I had a lot of pi numerology in my posts, but it didn't make the most sense. However, you know how these celebrity deaths work. One kind of leads into the next. And just as we're discussing this, we lose Ozzy.
So now I just want to see, personally, I want to see what the distance is between these last two guys that just died.
Right, that was my next thought.
Their births, at least, because we know how big. I didn't even talk about the 589 either in this, but I had some stuff.
Oh my God, no.
What is
okay,
it?
Good. I thought
What
I
is
had
it?
I thought it was another 262, but let me get this squared away here. Ozzy was 12-3. Okay. This is interesting. Look at this. So these two guys were born 21 years and 37 weeks apart. Well, 2137 is the 322nd prime number. And look at this, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne with the 322.
Well, that's definitely interesting.
And then you get the 260 months between them. So look at this, 260 months in 2 weeks. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, wow.
It's like a slot machine that's always giving you money, this calculator. You know what I mean? Like you pull the lever and it just always feeds you something.
I hope everyone in the chat's still watching from this whole decode through. I know we've talked about a lot of subjects, but if I mean, with all the 262s I just talked about, now Ozzy dies, and now the last two guys we just talked about, they actually have a 262 connection between them. So, I mean, I kind of expected that, to be honest. I'm not actually really surprised at this one, but still, look at that, 21 years, 8 months, and 15 days between 815 is the Jesuit original flake when they formed, or not when they founded, but like they're forming.
Correct. And 21, well, Jesuit 21, so
yeah,
it's got to be connected to the Pope, I would imagine. This was 93 days after Pope Francis, I guess. Well, wait, 92. Ozzy is 92. Yeah, so Ozzy is 92, and he dies 92 days after the Pope, who was a Jesuit.
And, if you add it, the 93 is super interesting because Saturn, time, what does Prince of Darkness equal? Does it have a 93? I don't know why it's like ringing a bell that has a 93 in it.
Yeah, and the 177 to go with the Jesuit order, which we just showed with the dates.
We still have 262 in the chat, by the way. I don't know what's going on with this chat today, but
well, don't let me start ranting about YouTube and what's really going on behind the scenes at YouTube. Don't let me go there, Cody.
So that's interesting. 93 days after the death of Pope Francis, Prince of Darkness, 93. Wow.
Okay, so look at how old the Pope would be today. See these last 4 digits? 2360. Look at Ozzy. Ozzy is 2360. And this would have been the Pope's age. The Jesuit Pope for Ozzy's death ends in 2360. And this is a number I've actually mentioned is connected to the Jesuit order. Throwing a lot of screen ciphers on here now, but I believe it's nah, maybe I'm wrong. I think it's 286. So, but again, right off the bat, we're seeing a lot. Today has 54 numerology as well.
Okay, so I had just talked about Ozzy because they had just performed Black Sabbath. Oh, and I forgot to mention that 93 seems really big because Black Sabbath is clearly Saturn. And when was their farewell?
July 5th was his last show for Ozzy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because I covered that and I connected it to those. I connected it to I was going to connect it to the flooding because that's essentially the flooding, right? And
yep.
Back to the beginning. Yeah, it was the Back to the Future stuff. That's what it was. I was really getting at with that because they called their show Back to the Beginning, that last show. And so that was on July 5th. Remember, that was 2 days after Back to the Future anniversary. Oh man, I'll just have to look more into it. It's kind of hard to get it all completely on while we're like just finding it out, but Back to the Beginning equals 166.
He does come from a Catholic family, it sounds like, too.
Yeah.
And look what year he started. His first active year was 1967, which I just mentioned is the number that connects him to the Jesuit rays, the 32 rays.
Yeah. And you know, something that I know about this is he's born in 48. And this is the same year, of course, Israel's founded in Pi lunation 314. And also, King Charles was also born in that lunation or in that year. So, I've been thinking, you know, things with King Charles. King Charles was born on 92 date numerology. I'm just throwing things out there because.
Yeah, born 19 days apart. 67, the 19th prime.
But they're all have that 1948 connection. I've always looked at that in a interesting with Israel being. I wonder how many days Israel's before his birth.
203. 29 weeks. One thing that does pop out to me as well is that he was born in December of 48, which is a 1248. And you and I have been going back and forth about how next month will be 1,248 weeks after the 9/11 attacks. And this is currently the 12th year and 48th week since Neil Armstrong died, which all goes back to the Tower Riddle.
Well, there was clearly Tower riddles all in with what we talked about today. So, and I know Casey, is Casey still in the chat? Casey Jones?
I just saw him.
I know he's been pointing out that date because hey Casey, if you're still in the chat, I know there's an interesting astrological thing going on the 12th. Something with the 1248. He was the one that first brought this to my attention. Joseph says he'll be covering the Ozzy in a few hours. Casey Jones Astrology also says Leo starts today. Yeah.
Yeah, so, Leo, the new pope. That makes the Francis connection make more sense.
Absolutely. And you know, I've connected Pope Leo clearly to Back to the Future. He's super tied in with. I think he was partly selected because of that, his connection with that movie. And again, the last show that Ozzy ever did was called Back to the Beginning. So the Back to the Future stuff, I think, is going to be something I'll probably end up getting into, depending on what I find. But
It's a pretty wild show there. Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Lamb of God, Anthrax,
I've
Alice in
seen,
Chains.
funny enough, I've been to a Rock on the Range in Columbus, Ohio, and I've seen a lot of those bands in the same like orderings. Like they haven't changed up their orders in years, man.
Funny.
Like I remember going to Rock on the Range in like 2012, and I watched Lamb of God and what's the other bands in there? I used to be a heavy metal rocker head. I'm not anymore, but I when I played metal guitar, I was a headbanger. I got knocked out inside of one of those crowds once too, and had to be like crowd surfed out of there to save my life. That was wild times. That's about as wild as I ever got, though. I never did any drugs or smoked or did anything really bad in my life, but about as wild as I ever got was some headbanging in a huge crowd of sweaty people. So I do notice
highlight
that,
of your life, I take it. No, I kid.
well, I just remember waking up in this bodyguard's arms. You know, like I had gotten elbowed in the face in the middle of like this mosh pit,
Yep.
and I got knocked out, and my friends had to pick me up and lift me, and so they crowd surfed me to the front where all the body security guards are, and I wake up, and the first thing I see is this guy with a big beard holding me in his arms.
Dude,
And I'm like,
getting
what?
carried out of a metal show is pretty metal.
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the time, I was proud of that. I don't know about now. I mean, I can say that at least I was tough enough to take it, and I still stayed in the show, you know, the whole time I was there. But like, like, I just remember telling my friends, like, I can't believe I woke up and this big bearded guy's holding me, and I'm like, what? I didn't even know what happened, you know. So
Did you think he was like one of the guitar players or something?
yeah, I mean, for a minute, I was like, wait, am I on stage? Because it was like up close to the stage. I wasn't that close when I started, and then all of a sudden, here I am right by the stage. Yeah, he was holding me like a baby, Angie. He was literally holding me in his arms, like, because they crowd surfed me to the front, and I was still completely out of it, and they poured water on me to wake me up. Like they literally took a whole cold water thing, like in the movies you see, and that's what woke me up. But anyway,
That's
I
why I
did
stayed
notice,
on the rail and headbanged there.
yeah. I did notice that if you measure from the birth of Ozzy to the birth of Pope Leo, it's 6 years, 9 months, 11 days. So that's an interesting 9/11 stuff. But yep, Ozzy passed away. Some people are just getting in here with the news. We've been covering it, guys, as if you want to go back and watch, we've covered the what we've been able to find. Again, we're live trying to find this stuff, so we're just kind of winging it here. Derek, did you find anything else interesting?
He died. His death was a span of 76 days after the new pope took office.
Oh,
which
okay.
was his age, so more to do there.
So it was 70. So that's interesting because XRP equals 58 and Ripple equals 76. And that was on 5/8. Yeah, so also, well, I see. Also, if you don't add the day, it's 2 months and 14 days after Pope Leo took over, and this was this was the huge number I connected with Gematria, the killing name, which was connected to Pope Francis' death, and of course he died on 2/1/4, and he went to the hospital on 2/14. And I'm not mistaken, was not the band Slipknot? Was Slipknot at this back to the beginning concert?
I don't see him. I would think they would be up here on the top with the headliners.
Yeah, okay. I thought maybe they were. But anyway, guys, I did a whole decode on Pope Francis dying and connecting to the 2/14. So it is interesting that he died 2 months, 14 days after Pope Leo was selected. Which is 70. Also, it's 10 weeks and 5 days, which is the gematria of Jorge Mario Bergoglio. I mean, then there's the Trump connection. Just thinking about that. 38 days after Trump's birthday. Murder, death. They call him the Prince of Darkness.
He was born 903 days after Trump to go along with the 93 and the Pope.
Oh, he was born 903 days after Trump. Isn't that the 42nd?
Triangular. Yep.
Yeah.
So more Saturn. Saturn is both 93 and 42.
Well, yeah, this has to be Saturn. You know, like just Black Sabbath itself is Saturn. Like,
Agreed.
and think about the WWE has been using their war games music for their war game stuff. So there might be a connection to war here. You're talking about the 42nd triangular number days between him and Trump. Trump just turned 42 Martian years. I've been talking about that. So, but Saturn does equal 42 as well. What is that? Is that Trump's age today? 28893, huh?
Correct.
So the 93 is seeming to be a big part here, I'm seeing. Because it's also Prince of Darkness 93, as we showed.
Yep. Well, I'm inspired to start a little blog post on Ozzy here. I know a lot of people are going to want to see that. So that's where my head's at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to go on, I mean, it's up to you if you want to stay on. I think I'm going to stay on at least another 20 minutes, see if we get anybody in here, if anyone wants else to share anything else. But
yeah, I'll step down off the soapbox and let someone else jump in if they'd like.
Well, you don't. I'm just saying you don't have to step down. I just want to see if there's anyone that comes in the chat that has anything else. I know that because this Saturn thing we're just talking about. I know Casey Jones. Oh, he's Casey Jones. Yeah, you can hop on the stream. Hold on. I missed that comment from you. Let me put the invite in there. Where is?
Well, I tell you what, Cody, I'm going to dip out anyway because I'm kind of running a little long here. So
okay,
I'm going to sign off and then start working on this post in a little bit. But thank you graciously for having me on once again and sharing my little tidbits.
Yeah, and thanks for coming on and doing this again after a bit of time. And I think we broke it down good again. And I mean, what do you know? We get a huge death story as we stream. So
right, which just seems to confirm a lot of what we pointed out. So it's nice to see that. But R.I.P. Ozzy, man, a true legend of the music world.
Yep, definitely. I think definitely some epic decodes to come in the next days with this. I'll have to do a standalone decode on this, and I'm sure Derek will as well. So
for shizzle.
All right, man. Well, have a good rest of your day over there, and we'll talk to you very soon.
All right, thanks everyone, and shout out Bobby here. He'll have some great stuff for you as well, I'm sure.
You there?
Howdy.
What's up, man?
I just finished my route. I'm just now getting back to the post office. Yeah, that's very interesting. You know, I was talking about the Saturn connections with Theo or Malcolm last night, and it shows up in Ozzy Osbourne's death.
Yeah, I that's why I was like, wow, we gotta talk about Saturn now.
Yeah.
It has to be connected to. I mean, Saturn with this 93 keeps showing. Did you have any 93s with Theo or with Malcolm or no?
Yeah, actually I did. So Malcolm was exactly 9,300 days into his second Saturn year.
Oh yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah, you know, Saturn's 93, and then I also noticed seemed to be a lot of things pointing to the death of Bill Cosby's real life son. He died on January 16th of the year 1997. If you go, so if you go from that date to the day that Malcolm died, it left 347 days before a Saturn orbit. And 347 is the 69th prime number, and that's another Saturn value in the base ciphers.
Okay, yeah, I see it here. 347 days left till a completed Saturn year.
Yeah, and then I also noticed that, and it's something I just noticed today, is that it was 969 days before his son's name is like Ennis, but it was 969 days before his what would have been his second Saturn return. And it used to be said that the orbital speed of Saturn was 9.69 kilometers per second. So it used to be a really big, Saturn number, and I think it's also the number of chapters in the Old Testament. And of course, the God of the Old Testament is compared to Saturn, I think.
Yeah, and then I think it's just more confirmation with Ozzy dying the next day, and Black Sabbath, and server bot in the chat says he died 2,270 days after he bit the head off the bat. So 227 days after, and today is 227. So that's a great addition as well.
And also know you guys asked me about that August 12th date, the astrological alignment. Or,
yeah.
But of course, that's going to be the date that's 1248 weeks after 9/11 cipher. And on that day, there will be an alignment of Jupiter and Venus will be in conjunction with Sirius. And it'll be at the exaltation degree for Jupiter, which is the middle degree of Cancer. And what really drives it home, I think, is that America will turn exactly 21 Jupiter years old that day as well. So, but realistically, you're looking at those dates of August 11th and
Are you still there? I think we lost him, guys. So we lost Casey, but yeah, what he was showing was if you go from the founding of the United States to August 12th, it's going to be exactly 21 Jupiter years. So yeah, that's interesting. I mean, Casey's still on here, but we can't hear him. All right, so does anyone have anything else with Ozzy while we wait for him to come back? But yeah, great connection from ServerBot. When did he bite the head off the bat? Hold on. Let me just look that up so we can see. When did Ozzy bite the bat? January 20th, 1982. Wait, is that right? Ozzy bit the head off a bat on January 20th, 1982. Am I measuring right here? I don't see the same Casey, can you hear me?
Hey, Cody.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good deal. Where did I leave off there?
You had just said about August 12th being 21 Jupiter years after 9/11 and or after the United States was founded, and I had brought that up.
You had brought that up before?
I had brought that up for them to see too. I had actually done the measurement. As you were talking, I brought that up, but then you cut out.
Oh, good deal. That's kind of where I had ended that thought. But I just wanted to say one more thing about the, you mentioned his initials, Ozzy Osbourne, the two O's. To me, that's the eclipse. I think Lambda may have been the first person to point out how that's kind of a 201. You have two zeros that become one. And
Right.
today is the cusp date for Cancer and Leo. Those are the zodiac signs that are ruled by the moon and the sun. So symbolically, today is kind of an eclipse date because you have this converging of the sun and the moon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a big part of, like, I think the pi riddles with the circle, and of course Saturn is associated with circles as well. So I think I always thought that when the eclipse happened and it makes the ring, it was like kind of a Saturn symbol too. So it's probably connected to both the, like you said, the eclipse and Saturn, and I think that's being Black Sabbath. Oh, include the end date. I see. Okay, so guys, the original measurement that he gave us was he died 2 to 70 weeks after he bit the head off the bat, and today is 22/7. But also look at this, 1589. Guys, I had slides on 589 in this decode. I didn't even get to, because I told you guys that in the last decode I was talking about the death of Malcolm, who was born in lunation 589 on an eclipse, by the way. And Donald Trump equals 589. And from the Robert Redford's birth to the founding of XRP was 589 times 47. That's the amount of days. And the current CEO of Ripple follows 589 people, just to go along with Ripple being, XRP being associated with the 589. And now Ozzy, he dies 1,589, 15,890 days after he bit the head off the bat. So, oh, look at this, 262 again. 43 years, 26 weeks and 2 days. Oh my goodness. So this whole decode was about 262, and now Ozzy dies 26 weeks and 2 days after he bit the head off the bat.
Okay, that's two more thoughts before I have to run.
Okay.
So Bill Cosby, he's just 128 days before his third Saturn return, that'll fall on the date of November 25th of this year.
Uh-huh.
And the other thing is that, Whitney Houston was a big death I've looked into over the years, and she drowned in a bathtub, and her age on the day of Theo or Malcolm's death was 22,626 days. And it is interesting you brought up the WWE being in Houston that day, so Whitney Houston. So I just want to leave you with that. But yeah, man, I got to run. Thanks for letting me on, and appreciate what you do and everything. And I'll catch you later.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing those nuggets. Appreciate that. So have a good rest of your day out there.
All right, appreciate it, Cody.
See you. All right. So thanks to Derek. Thanks to Casey Jones Astrology. And again, we had the 262, and my whole decode was about 262, and now Ozzy dies 26 weeks and 2 days after he bit the head off the bat. So just to wrap this up, the big breaking story while we were live was Ozzy Osbourne dead at the age of 76. And The first thing I can say here is 76 skull and bones equals 76. Of course, that's the Brotherhood of Death. Donald John Trump. We already said this was all connected to Trump with the 93s. Well, Donald John Trump equals 76. There's more 76s, but he dies at 76. Prince of Darkness. Equals 93. He died 93 days after Pope Francis died. A span of 93 days. And we know that because Saturn, Black Sabbath, Saturn 93. Let's see. I'll stay on here another. Okay, guys, here's the deal. I'll stay on here another 15 minutes and see what I can find with this death here. So he died. Back to the Beginning was his last performance on July 5th. So he died 17 days after. Trying to think about how the 17 might connect. That one's got me baffled a bit. 17 days after his last performance, back to the beginning. So back to the beginning, guys, is the Ouroboros, the circle again, right? Think about Ozzy and OO. He's got the two O's. Back to the beginning, right? A circle goes back to the beginning. When you draw a circle, like the Ouroboros. And again, we talked about how Ozzy Osbourne equals 201. That's the Jesuit order number, of course. Ozzy Osbourne dies. Oh, look at this. Ozzy Osbourne's death equals 76. He dies at 76. So, I mean, there, the 76 is right there in your face. I mean, I just kind of had a feeling that he was going to pass after his last performance. I just had a feeling, Let's see how many days before the blood moon. Because I'm really watching this blood moon coming up. Oh, he died 47 days before the blood moon. He died 47 or 48 days before the blood moon. He died six weeks and 6 days before the blood moon. Ozzy Osbourne equals 66. But yeah, definitely be watching for this blood moon coming up on the September 7th. Let me go to the chat and see if you guys have anything else. I'm just checking out your comments, guys. All right, looks like everyone's out of info, I guess, so far. Does anyone have this is the final call, guys. Does anyone have any last minute info to share on Ozzy Osbourne? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, so he died a span of 88 days after the Pope's funeral, who died at 88. So there's okay, so he died 88 days. Also 2 months and 27 days. He died on 227, 2 months, 27 days after Pope Francis' funeral. That's 88 days. Pope Francis died at 88. Um, 88 miles per hour. His last performance was Back to the Beginning. Makes you think of Back to the Future. This is connected to Sirius, the dog star, probably. So he had Parkinson's disease, guys. And Parkinson's is the same disease that Michael J. Fox has. So Michael J. Fox and Ozzy had the same thing. What's that equal? Hold on. I'm telling you, this is a Back to the Future riddle again. Parkinson's disease. Interesting. So there's that. And isn't this the Golden Gate Bridge Day? Hold on a second. Oh, guys, he dies. He dies one day before the Golden Gate Bridge turns 322 old. You see that? So I've been telling you guys about the Golden Gate Bridge because there's so much connecting to the Golden Gate Bridge. But the Golden Gate Bridge opened on May 27th, 1937. So Ozzy died on the last day before the bridge turned 322. And we already showed how, Derek already showed how his full name equals 322. So I believe this is connected to Back to the Future and the Golden Gate Bridge. I know it might sound strange, but I feel like there's something there. Because, yeah, I just feel like there's something there for sure. I mean, if anyone can think of any reason, Ozzy Osbourne equals 322 in the composite cipher, huh? Hold on. What did I do? Whoops, I forgot the U. Yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, 322 in the composites and 201. How about that? That's a good one. So tomorrow will be 32200 days after the Golden Gate Bridge opened. Let's see what was 666 days ago, guys. You guys always look at that, you know. Oh. 666 days ago was September 25th, 2023. I have to think about I'll have to look and see what happened on that day. If anyone wants to look and write it in the comments, what might have happened on that day. I'm just measuring that because, you know, Ozzy died today. I just wanted to see what was 666 days before. But I think we'll leave it there, guys. We've talked about how it connects to the Pope 93 days after the Pope died, Prince of Darkness 93. Donald Trump born 903 days before Ozzy, or before Ozzy. So something up with the 93. Because that's Saturn. Saturn is connected to the rings, like the O's in his name. It's all really a Saturn thing, guys. Black Sabbath. Satan. Satan is often mixed with Saturn. But yeah, on one final note, guys, don't forget tonight on Ball Don't Lie, we'll be covering some Ozzy tonight, guys, in a few hours. We'll be covering at 10 p.m. Eastern time on AJ Ball Don't Lie's channel. We'll be covering recent events, me, AJ, and Rambo. So I will be back here in a few hours, and we'll see what we can find with Ozzy. But make sure you guys go subscribe and go hit the notification, go hit the like button, and be ready to see more info on this stream in a few hours. So 6 hours from now. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like buttons on your way out. That's always greatly appreciated. If you guys want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link at the top. That's always greatly appreciated as well. And we will see you guys in about 6 hours on AJ's channel. And much love and God bless. And take care.